Hello, everybody. I'm Russell Hill, your host of the WTF podcast, and that's What the Fixed Ops. And I'm joined today by...
Hi, everybody. I'm Charity. I'm the co-host here. And today we have Brian Pasch. He is the founder of the Pasch Group, an automotive technology company. Brian, welcome to the show. Introduce yourself and tell us what you do at the Pasch.
Yes.
Sure. Well, hey, thanks so much. It's an honor to be on the podcast. This year, I'm celebrating 20 years in automotive retail at Tier 3. I have 3 businesses that serves dealers. One is a digital marketing agency. Second is a conference program. We host 2 conferences a year. And 3, consulting. So helping dealers implement, plan, or troubleshoot their retail operations. So it's been a great ride of 20 years, and I'm keep on going, not stopping yet.
I love it. Thank you. I don't even know if you really, we probably spoke about this before, but I met you when you first got started. I was partners in a CRM company called Car Research.
Yes, with Patrick Kelly.
Yes. Absolutely. And Ruben Kilber, and then another company after that. And of course, the company we have now. But yeah, I remember meeting you and your team. It was great. We had a lot of different events back then, but boy, you guys have certainly grown. You're a known quantity. It's like everybody in automotive knows you. And it's like the old E.F. Hutton commercial that when Brian talks, everybody listens. No, you got a lot of great stuff, and we are honored and humbled to have you on today. So, Chair, this is just kind of a free for all, but we wanted to talk a little bit about the current NADA and what your feedback was. What did you think of the event, et cetera? Because there's a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah. So first of all, my heart goes out to the NADA planning organization. Since I host 2 events a year, one of them in Palm Beach, we do run into the potential of hurricane. And one year the hurricane hit a week before, and thankfully the hotel was spared, but you can't control the weather. But if you all remember, it was, I think, 2014, where it took 2 days for people to leave New Orleans because of the ice. This year, it took 2 days for people to get to New Orleans. And I did a LinkedIn poll just asking people, should New Orleans come out of the rotation? And 70% of the people said yes. And, some people's comments, Russell, Charity, were like, well, why don't we just move the conference to the spring? Because New Orleans we like. And I don't think people understand that NADA has a unique influence to get OEMs to show up in January to a national meeting and coordinate all their schedules. You move it out of that window of time, you no longer have the full support of the OEMs. So it's not optional, just pick any date. This window and influence is basically a premise that the OEMs plan around. So I just think that with the weather and their potential drama, there's no sense in keeping it in New Orleans.
Really? Yeah, so no reason to move it elsewhere. Keep it there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people at this time of year, or prior to NADA, that they're already planning their budgets. In the latter part of the end of the year and getting ready for the first year. And a lot of people just hold out and don't make a lot of decisions until they go to NADA and see all the new stuff, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, and some people said, let's hold it every year in Vegas. And, everyone who's been in Vegas knows that every day in Vegas takes 3 days off your life. But I think New Orleans should come out and maybe do San Diego, or New Orleans comes out and you do Orlando. But I know that NADA doesn't like Orlando because of all the distractions, the people get pulled away with their families to the theme parks. But, San Diego in January is a beautiful place. So I hope that they'll reconsider and just take New Orleans out of the rotation and find a better city.
Do you think vendors had a negative ROI this year, or how do you think that played out for a lot of the people exhibiting?
That's great question. First of all, every vendor, no matter how
Trying to structure that one right, aren't you?
yeah. Well, listen, there are people who did amazing. Like the Impel booth was jamming, Client Command jamming, Lot Links jamming. There were some booths, Techion jamming. Cox has an entire city block
Sure.
booths. But every vendor there would say that the traffic was down. Sunday was a ghost town. And my estimate is that about 60% of the dealers canceled. And did it have a financial impact? Sure. I think that if NADA keeps it in New Orleans, there will be a lot of vendors who will not book. They won't do that again. Like after 2014 and 2025, that's it. They're like, if you're going to have it in New Orleans, I'll step out of that show.
Yeah. It's a really big expense to exhibit there. And you make that decision in June, the year before the next NADA. So I get the feeling you're very experienced with events. So what size or revenue does a company have to be to justify exhibiting at NADA? At what point does it make sense and what point does it not?
Well, it's the, I'm sure some people were crushed because of the lack of dealer attendance. I'm just going to be transparent with, we had a booth, just a normal, I guess it was a 10, let me think about it, maybe a 10 by 20 booth. And we had, 6 people down. And, when you're all said and done, you're 30, 40 grand in with dinners. Some mid-sized companies were in for 250, 300, larger companies, 800 to $1 million, and remember, let's just say if average company, let's just say someone who spent 500,000, if they're at a 30% net margin, right? They have to book a $1.5 million in business.
Yeah.
To cover that nut. And if over half the dealers didn't show up, it leaves a little, bad taste. That being said, I recorded a video which has gotten tens of thousands of views. It was from the trade floor, just urging dealers, hey, if you couldn't make it, honor your appointments. And the idea was no one could control the weather, but if you had an appointment at a booth and didn't make it, when that salesperson calls you up, honor that appointment. And the amount of comments from the vendor community, from the exhibitors, like, Brian, thanks for saying that. You did
Good.
it. Because listen, the dealers want to go. But after their first flight was canceled, we probably lost 10 or 15%. And then when their second flight was canceled, we probably lost another 15. And then when their third flight was canceled, that's it. They're not going through that brain damage when they're running a busy company.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
And there's nothing that really anyone could do about it.
Nope.
So that's why I'm asking all these questions, because I saw that video. And I thought that was really noble of you to say that, because I couldn't only imagine how much the vendors were struggling this year and what a difficult position that put people in.
So I think NADA has to rethink their whole strategy for the conference. Sundays are ghost town. And here's what happens. Most of the OEMs come in on a Monday. And then their dealer meetings or advisory boards or whatever, are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This year at NADA, Toyota, Mercedes, and Hyundai pulled out because, of all the problems. That impacted some dealers, another reason why dealers didn't go. But by the time the weekend comes, dealers have could be like by the time Saturday comes, they could have already been in 3 or 4 OEM meetings, a couple vendor or OEM hospitality parties. And Sunday, the whole exhibit floor is open and there's very little traffic. So I've actually stopped attending on Sundays. I go home Saturday night, after, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's leaving vendors a little bitter. Like, couldn't you schedule more meaningful things to get people to stay? But the problem is that NADA has been a little bit overtaken by OEM meetings.
Brian, could it be during the week? Could it be like a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday and split up those meetings, the first to the end? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the thing, Russell, great question. Obviously, NADA books these contracts 3 or 4 years in advance, right? So any change in dates wouldn't happen for a while. What I'm just wondering is how do you, and by the way, I just want to be very clear on our own conferences recently. So our conferences are Sunday, Monday, half day, Tuesday. Why half day? They used to be all day Tuesday. And then we found that dealers after lunch were starting to fly home and the vendors got a little tweaked. So I just said, okay, Tuesday after lunch, we're shutting down. So I think because dealers like going to the exhibit hall, I'm wondering if that exhibit hall should almost not be open Sunday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, instead of Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, everything shuts down. I think it'll be better for everyone.
Good point. We didn't go this year. A lot of different reasons. One of which is I had surgery, but wasn't able to. But in the year before, we did a 20 by 20 booth. It was rather costly, and the year before that we did as well. Just trying to build our brand and our name because we're just now hit our 5th year and things are really moving for us now, which we're really grateful of. But it's like that Sunday, it's difficult. And I heard a lot of people are already shutting down and early Sunday morning dismantling their booths and stuff like that. It wasn't quite that way. And this is the first NADA I've missed in a long, long time. And Sunday's usually about noon. I mean, there's still people there, but it's not like it was on Friday or Saturday at all.
Right. And I think the key here is someone might say, well, Brian, it's a rounding error, to leave it open on Sunday. By the way, people still do deals on Sunday.
Yes, they do.
Truth is, the only reason why they're doing deals on Sunday is because it's the last day and dealers know that they can make a better deal on the last day. But they're still paying for another full day. They're still paying for a lot of overhead with very little new conversations. If the exhibit halls was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the dealer knew that Saturday at 5 o'clock, that hall's shutting down, then people could, pack up their booths and people can start flying home. They get Sunday home back with their family. I don't know. It just feels like every time you bring it up, people say, well, I signed some business on Sunday. And I'm like, well, of course. I mean, the odds are someone's going to sign business on Sunday. But
exactly.
It's more crickets on Sunday. So why fool yourself that it's an ideal agenda?
Yeah, they're just trying to be positive. They're just trying to be positive, and it's greatly appreciated. I've heard a lot of mixed feelings over the last week, particularly in Clubhouse and other places, just listening to what they said. But there was a lot of very extremely positive comments too, that outweigh for the ones that were there. And some of the booths were busy, and the quality of the people they dealt with was much better than it would have been, if it was traditional, right? Without all the weather.
Well, listen, the people who made it wanted to be there.
Yep.
They weren't there to drink and party. They were there to shop and find solutions. So someone said that today, Russell, to me. I was talking to the folks at Client Command, and they said, yeah, Sunday was really bad.
Mhm.
But the people who came to our booth were in market. They just weren't tire kickers. So, let's put it this way. When you travel, if you're going to a place that you love, you'll put up with travel delays because when I get on the other side,
Mhm.
I'm going to be in heaven. If
Yeah.
it's a place that you really didn't want to go, the plane's canceled, you might say to your spouse, I'm done. I'm out. And so I think there was a weeding or a thinning of the herd. So look, no one can blame NADA. They could blame NADA if they still keep it in New Orleans and we have another storm. The next time this happens, okay, the ice storm on the way out in 14, the ice storm on the way in 2025. That's enough to say, move it out of the rotation.
Yeah, they'll be rethinking that one. And listen, I heard very, very few comments about that specific thing. It's just unfortunate circumstances. 100-year storm. I mean, come on. I mean, right?
Yeah, but we've had 2 massive events in 10 years. So,
True.
Listen, I love Palm Beach. We live in Boca, so it's nice to have a conference in nearby. But, the only time that really works in the calendar is the fall, and that's hurricane season. Will I have an event that gets blown out? Yeah, it's most likely the odds are going to tell me yes. And I think that the difference is Florida knows how to handle those storms and cleanup is relatively quick. New Orleans has no equipment or experience. So it's like one of those things like NADA could have the conference in New York. I'm just saying Javits Center. And it wouldn't make a difference if it snowed. I mean, New York airports are never closed for 2 days. No,
No, they got all the equipment. They don't even have de-icing machines in New Orleans.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like the New Orleans airport was shut down for 2 full days. That was disastrous.
It was.
Let's learn from that and from 2014 and say, track record's not too good. Now, was the restaurants great? Did I have laughs? Yes. Was it great to meet up with folks? Yes. Did we do some business? Yes. All of those are yeses. But the price per, new customer went up by double,
Okay, then now there's a couple things you didn't mention. Did you go to Cafe de Monde and have some of that chicory coffee and beignets and red beans and rice? Those are 2 mainstays, right?
Yes. I did go to Charlie's Steakhouse.
Ooh.
And this is so funny. They've been around for a long, long time.
Long time.
There is no menu.
Oh.
You just walk in and she basically said, would you like onion rings to start? And I'm like, is that all? Yep. Yeah. Onion rings to start. And then, okay, for entrees, we have steak. And like, any chicken? What's the name of our place? Steak. Any fish? No. Sauce? Oh, don't be asking me for no A1 sauce. Don't do that.
Don't insult me.
And it was so funny. It was like, all right, these are the steaks. And then you can get, there were some sides. But I was like, and the waitress had been there for, I don't know, 10 plus years. She was hysterical. And I was like, well, first of all, everything was delicious. It was a very casual place. Like, wasn't fancy like a Ruth Chris or anything. But they just like, why would we change? We just have great steaks and some sides, and that's it.
And it's the best.
And boy, the food was great. It was just a little weird, like basically telling you, like, if you don't like steak, if you're not a meat eater, then you just munch on some onion rings or, a baked potato or something.
That sounds just like New Orleans too.
Let me guess. At this very moment, another vendor is walking up to your lot with something shiny to sell. Before you head back and hide in your office, let me take a minute to tell you about my friend Dawn Pelham and my friends over at Global Dealer Solutions. They exist to help you find solutions to problems, some of which you might not even know you have. Best of all, they can manage as many products and services as needed for you, helping cut down on multiple vendor visits and distractions. And if you need anything, you have one number to call or text for the response all dealers like to hear. On it, GDS understands that successful dealerships require more than a set it and forget it mentality. And they'll be with you every step of the way, from setup, implementation, training, and support. And if necessary, they'll even cancel non-performing products for you. No pushback, no arguments, just a solution here executing course corrections as needed. Check out gdsdealers.com to learn the difference and set up a time to meet. Let's see if they're a good fit for you. Yeah. Well, you know, dealers are overloaded with vendors, not just at NADA, but pretty much everywhere. And you mentioned a few vendors earlier who really had some successful booths. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think vendors can do to break through the noise?
Mm.
Good question.
Yeah. So, Charity, you could be mind reading with that question. And of course, I didn't know any of the questions in advance. So I do think you're a mind reader. Russell, listen, as a business, growing a business, even though you're in the industry, you said, everyone knows Brian Pasch. But the funny thing is, it's really hard to get to the general managers, the decision makers, the marketing managers. So there's a lot of people like, I don't know who Brian Pasch is. Now, I do run into people, hey, I've been reading your articles for years. And then I feel like saying, well, it would have been nice to say thank you, send me a note, like keep writing. But so there's this weird dynamic. General managers change probably, I don't know, I would say every 18 months. And so even if you had an email list, that email list gets bad so quickly.
You're singing to the choir, Brian.
Yeah. So let's talk about that challenge. And then you would say, well, LinkedIn is a great professional networking thing. I would say probably half of the senior managers in the dealership don't even go on LinkedIn, which is ridiculous. But
yes.
Okay. And then you have this Charity, as you know, these companies that are out selling conference lists. And by the way, it's all a big scam because
we got a couple of those. Yeah. No more.
I have people sending me, hey, do you want to buy a list to and my conference? And it's like, I'm just telling you how silly. Like, we got 1,000 people who've gone to Brian Pasch's conference. Well, we don't get 1,000 dealers at a conference, right? So I know exactly what they're doing. They're just regurgitating this puke of emails and making up things. So I think dealers are bombarded. They move quickly, and you never know what kind of day they're having when your email arrives or your letter arrives. I did a test. I bought 100 copies of Elon Musk's new book last year. I hand wrote notes and sent it to 100 general managers. And I got the name of the general manager and the address of the dealership off the website. I didn't get one general manager.
Not one?
Not one. 100 books, like the thick books, 100. Now, you say to yourself, in a normal business environment, you'd get a few.
2%.
But I think dealers are bombarded. They don't know how to evaluate performance claims. How about this? I'm doing a national website survey. And one of the questions, do you believe video testimonials about website performance from dealership managers? And the dealer said 70% responded no.
Wow.
Think about that. So, Russell, you think if I get a general manager to do a video testimonial, I put that on my website, or I send that in an email, only 3 out of 10 think that's important. What does that say? I think it's saying that dealership managers think they're the smartest man in the room. Why would I listen to Ben Stein from Wisconsin? I don't know if he has a good fixed ops department, but I think the answer is, if you're going to do a video testimonial, make sure they're a top 10 dealer, in the country. If you're going to put a video testimony, a dude who's selling 30 new cars in New Mexico, that's not the guy.
No.
You got to have people of reference. So Charity, when you think about reaching and cutting through the noise, you have to understand that if dealers are generally distrusting, or if they think they're the smartest person in the room and they don't need to listen to their peers, then you really have to be focusing in on individual pain points, right? You have to know what their pain is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they were in the top 10 and they slipped out of the top 10. If you knew that, I bet an email said, hey, I see you're no longer in the top 10. Let me help you get back in there. That type of marketing message requires a database, some data mining, some careful consideration. But most companies don't have those resources to do it. So we have a high turnover, a high hard-headed, closed-minded, because they've been burned so many times.
Yeah.
It's I think most general managers would rather go to the dentist than go on another vendor demo. So, how do we cut through that?
Yes, this is great point. This is my 40th year, January. 16 of those were on the front end selling, and worked my way up the ladder, which is great. I cut my teeth at Van Tile, phenomenal organization. I mean, just phenomenal. And it's so different now. I mean, it's like 300 emails a day. It's like they're being reactive. Very few are proactive. I know some, and I know you know some, but the vast majority of them, they either have egos or they don't trust anybody whatsoever. And I'll tell you what, we work the heck out of social media, and I've been around a long time, so people know me. But you'd be surprised, maybe not, Brian, you'd be surprised how many people know me and kind of well, but they really don't even know what I do. It's just because, I'm very careful. I have this knack for knowing when it's time to talk and when it's time to listen, and not try to regurgitate some pitch, because I'll tell you what, you can get your rear end blacklisted real quick and people just stop tuning in altogether. But it's like, so we're very careful, and things are really starting to take off. It's taken 5 years. We just celebrated our 5th year, and we're becoming a known quantity now. But mostly the trajectory in the last year is identifying the pain points. And one of the pain points we address, which I'm not going to talk, exist in every single store. And some of the pain points you also address too, particularly with the Morgan Automotive Group. And yeah. And where I was going with that, we were a part of that list, the vendor list, just to be able to participate. And it was, and I think that's welcome, where people are controlling and understanding. I'm sure we're going to talk about CDP and where the future is going with that. That's critically important. And the people that want to do things the right way, it took us 3 months just to make the cut when we were already in there. But we're past that now, and things are moving along. So some people are like, yeah, I'm out on all that. Well, you know what? If you're not participating in this kind of stuff, then you're not going to be a part of the future. You're just not going to be a part of the future.
Russell, it's true. What I helped define for the Morgan Auto Group, which is 75 stores, all in Florida, was what the vendor onboarding process looked like. And since Morgan is committed to tracking every click, hover, swipe, and conversion on their websites, they've required every vendor to support the Automotive Standards Council specification for GA4. And effectively, that is the event names for every click, hover, swipe, and conversion.
Yeah.
It was a project I started 3 years ago. We now have over 100 organizations and agencies and dealers involved, setting a standard. The standard is successful. It is in place. Each month it's getting more and more compliance with the vendor community. But the vendors who are listening, please, please do not minimize the importance of the ASC specification. If you have a tool, a form, a communication platform, a payment calculator, a service scheduler on the dealer's website, do not be surprised when they tell you you need to support the ASC events. The good news is all the major website companies support it, all the major digital retailing, all the major chat support it. Service schedulers are finally coming around. Xtime, Reynolds, and others are, the digital marketing companies are supporting it. So what we're talking about is basically respecting dealers' desire to manage their own first-party data, to track what people are doing on their websites. And since a website is really 6 or 7 websites in one, what do I mean? Like, yeah, you can buy a dealer e-process website, but then you're going to bolt on CarNow chat.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The service scheduler, then you're going to bolt on payment tools. So by the time it's all done, you typically have 7 different parties on a website. And what you were referring to, Russell, is just the table stakes. At the Morgan Auto Group, if you want to stay as a vendor, you have to support the ASC spec. And then if you're collecting data in any type of form or chat window, you have to support the CDP tagging. And believe it, Russell, you made the right decision. Like, let me get our software aligned because I don't want to lose Morgan and I want to have an opportunity to grow at Morgan. And we've canceled, when I say we, the Morgan Auto Group has canceled products because they have not been compliant. So it's either put up or shut up. If you want the business, step up. If you don't want the business, great. We'll find another solution.
I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but it was a lot to maneuver and be compliant and supportive of that initiative. But I also know where the future's going, and it's critical. And if you're not in this for that, if you don't understand the importance of that data and what that means, particularly with AI coming into the equation, because it can't be denied and it's not going anywhere. It's going to be a fabric of our everyday. Well, it already is. But anyway, yeah, that was critical. And I see that nobody could sidestep it from what I saw. Some vendors probably chose not to participate and just eliminated themselves, and others were half-assed about it, and they're probably not participating anymore because what I understood on the first couple of calls with you and the team was it's going to be this way, period. This is the way it's going to be. There was no loopholes or in and rounds. It was going to be this way. And I understood back even then. Anyway, people got mixed reviews on that. Charity, I know you have a question about that.
I do. And I'm going to switch topics on you. Let's talk about the importance of using customer digital IDs. Why is identity resolution important for dealers?
Sure. So dealers traditionally have done a very poor job on retention. And what do we mean by that? They've only seen the website as a lead generator. Outside of automotive, Charity, have you ever shopped, left something in the shopping cart intentionally, and then within minutes getting an email with a coupon?
You get the email with a discount, right?
We all know that game. And why do they do that? Because they know when their customers are back on the website and they're using identity resolution. What we're doing at the Morgan Auto Group, and this is just happening all around the country, whether a store is using Impel or Client Command or Orbi or Telium, they're putting identity resolution tags on the website. And when a customer fills out a form and provides their information or clicks on an email that the dealer sent and they come to the website, that digital ID then is associated with their PII, their personal identifiable information, name, address, phone number, email. What does that do? It allows us to get signals now when people are back in market shopping. And That's really important. So the dealers who get 1 or 2% conversion of their website now can see 10 or 15% of traffic identified into existing customers or existing leads back in market shopping, reach out to them. So Charity, what it does is increase the opportunities. Aharon Horowitz at our conference in November coined the term data up. So if somebody does fill out a form, it comes back to the website and the CDP, the customer data platform, has identity resolution, gets the signal, hey, this is Brian Pasch back on the website. The question is, what do you do with it, Charity, right? It's not a lead.
What do you do with it?
Yeah. So basically those signals are coming in now, depending on your platform. As the CDP, like Vin Solutions has those signals from Cox, from either AutoTrader or KBB. Reynolds has that. Morgan has that with their platform. And so those data ups, depending on what the person was doing on the website, are handled differently. So I think in 2025, the biggest breakthroughs will be sharing strategies on what works best when you know someone's back on the website and they didn't submit a lead. These data ups, should you call them? Should you text them? Should you do a personalized email? Or should you do a direct mail piece? The answer is yes to each of those things, but in different use cases. And
absolutely.
Tom Moore shared at the Modern Retailing Conference, our conference in November, Morgan will book at least $14 million of additional FixedOPS revenue by just calling the people who abandoned the Reynolds service scheduler and saying, hey, I see you started the service schedule. You couldn't finish it. Can I help you? Or booking appointments. It's amazing. The customers are so happy.
They are.
With the Reynolds service scheduler, they have to put their email or phone number as the first step, you see? So if they jump out, the consumer knows that they gave their information. It's no surprise. But the consumer's so glad, oh, I didn't know what the price was going to be. Or Russell, you know this. There was no appointments open for 4 weeks and I really need my car service. Oh, let me help you. So
big one.
Identity resolution, Charity, is giving dealers the abandoned shopping cart signals. That's just one use case. When people are on their website. More advanced identity resolution frameworks, like Client Command, for example, will tell dealers when their customers are shopping and not on their website. How about that? Like,
yeah,
I see your customer, right? Because they get a copy of the DMS data. I see your customers out shopping on a competitor site or on AutoTrader or Cars.com. That's next level game, right? Because if you know, Russell, that you have a customer who's been loyal to you in service, but now they're out on AutoTrader, maybe they're thinking about buying a car. Or what if they're searching for service and an independent? Well, if you can get that signal and then give them a friendly call, hey, we're just calling all our customers. We see you haven't been in service a while. Has anything changed in your mobility needs? As the consumer, they're like, hey, I didn't even go to the dealer's website. They don't even connect it. But identity resolution, Charity, can even help dealers know when their customers could be defecting. And this is huge.
Yeah. It's
huge.
It sounds like.
Yeah, we could spend the whole just on that alone. I mean, that's huge. That's why it's critical that information be cleansed in one place. This is like the tip of the iceberg of what's coming in it, Brian.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing, and people are iterating very quickly. There are a number of companies on the market. Let's just say there's a dozen competent companies with all different features, but helping dealers try to manage their customer data in something called a customer data platform, or CDP. But I'll tell you one thing. Brad Title, who was the original partner creator of Cowboy CRM, which sold to Cobalt, and then later Gabagoo, which was bought by Reynolds. For the last year plus, working on a collaboration with FullPath, to integrate their CDP with Reynolds DMS data and Reynolds Focus CRM. Now, just to be honest, and I'm friends with so many people in the industry, but no one has talked about Reynolds Focus CRM at all. It was a product that existed. When Brad showed the tight integration of identity resolution, Charity, with activation and in the CRM, I had people say that is the best looking CRM function I have ever seen. It breathed new life into Focus CRM, not because it was a new feature, but how it tied in identity to know when the customers were shopping, how to quickly send them messages via text or email, or retarget them on social, and then get a signal in the CRM. Hey, you should probably call this person. That tight integration is what, Cox has had for a while, but they've not done a good job of marketing it.
No, they haven't.
Reynolds comes out and it's like, poof. And I have a couple large dealer groups that are using this new thing because it's really in the early launch phase. And they're like, Brian, this is game changing. So Russell, you're right. The right CDP platform integrated with marketing activation and dealer customer communication is going to make a big impact in their competitive strategy.
Parts district, it goes on and on and on and on. There's do you know Tim Hayden, or of the Tim Hayden?
Yes.
Yeah. He was on our show not too long, just a brilliant guy. And on Wednesdays with the human side of it. Anyway, I've really I try to spend a little time each day and learning as much as I can about what is coming down the road, because it is staggering how fast things are moving from what you looked at 6 months ago, let's say, to if you look at it again today, it's already morphed. And there's a lot of jockeying, a lot of acquisitions going on out there, but this is a topic that's not going away. And I think it's important that everybody learn as much as they possibly can, because it's going to be an integral part of the future. It's going to be transformative in a way that I can't even really imagine. It's just, I learned a lot from listening to this guy initially. I didn't really understand the DMS, CDP, CRM, and what a disconnect and how siloed this data is, that in order for this to work or function right, it requires enormous amounts of data to be able to do this effectively. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, that's, at NADA, I released a new book called the Automotive CDP Planning Guide for Dealers. And I wrote it for executives to understand, Russell, dealers never had, I know it sounds so silly, but when I say it, dealers nod their head, they never had a place to manage their portfolio of customers. Just like a stock, whether you use E-Trade or Schwab or whatever, you buy stocks and you watch them and they hope they grow. Dealers never had a place where all their customers they kept updating their address and phone numbers and emails. And what they were trying to do, right? They should have been thinking like, how do I increase the lifetime value of my customer? They never had that tool. The DMS is the QuickBooks for dealers, and the CRM is just a lead gen, task-driven tool. And both can have outdated data and still function properly because they were never meant. They never were meant for retention. They were transactional tools. So once dealers get that vision, then it comes down to which platform meets my business needs. There are obviously some leaders in the space today. There are people who are coming to market. You probably remember an old name, Larry Bruce, used to be at Reynolds. He's been in this industry for a long time. He is coming out with a new CDP platform. He was a Reynolds guy. He's been in websites and marketing. He was involved in a lot of things. There's some newcomers coming to market. So I would encourage dealers who want to learn more about CDPs, just go to paschgroup.com, pick up a copy of the Automotive CDP Planning Guide for Dealers, just to help you, as Russell said, get up to speed with what's possible And then that book also has a framework to help you shop, build an RFP, and find the right partner for you. Because I don't sell CDPs, I just help dealers, make better decisions on which
Sure.
tech.
Well, I'm going to get me a copy. I can tell you that right now.
It's an easy read.
Well, speaking of mind reading, Brian, that was my next question, was about your book, Automotive CDPs, A Planning Guide for Dealers. And I just want to ask you, what are some of the points in that book that you think dealers don't want to miss?
I think I talk about the importance of data hygiene. And I'll share just a couple numbers because Tom Moore, the COO of Morganard Group, shared them from the main stage at our conference. But 40% of the records in the DMS no longer own the vehicle that was
incredible.
40% of those records needed updated address, phone number, or email, right? We appended 30+% of missing, mobile phones, which are important for texting and other communication. So data hygiene is important. Don't start a CDP with dirty data. Number two, the time to get a CDP up and running is directly correlated to your use cases. You could be up and running in a month and seeing ROI. Larger dealer groups might take 6 months. Just depends on what your goals are. And what I talk also about, which is important, Charity, is the partnership that the dealer has with their marketing agency has to change. Most agencies and dealer co-op programs with the manufacturer, they work on cut me a list or dump a list, load it up into the platform and market for the month. Next month, cut me a list, load it up in their platform. That disconnect creates a lot of waste because during the month, people buy cars, service their cars, and you surely don't want to be marketing people, emailing them, direct mailing them if they just transacted a few days ago. So the agency
happens every day. It does. It's incredible.
It does. So with real-time audiences, when somebody in the Morgan use case, if somebody calls and schedules an appointment, they don't have to even put a lead in or use the rental service scheduler. If someone calls and books an appointment, we get that signal from call review. The CDP is updated. That person's taken out of a service marketing journey and put into a retention journey. If somebody comes in off an ad and buys a car, as soon as that evening's batch of DMS data is processed, they're moved out of an acquisition campaign, meaning there's never a stale list to the degree of your data hygiene update. So that will change. And the second thing is, Charity mentioned identity resolution. Most OEM digital marketing agencies work with lists of 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 because that's what Google and Facebook require. There's a whole conversation I can have on that. But there's embedded waste there. Dealers have to inflate lists to be able to, with junk, in order to get on Google and Facebook. And of course, they're paying for that. With the CDP, you may find out, hey, this month there were 70 people on my website who are existing customers who are looking at service specials. It's too small to put in Facebook or Google. So what do? So I think the biggest relationship changes is dealers are going to expect from their marketing agency of record. You're going to have to be able to deal with micro audiences. That means you're going to have one-to-one emails, one-to-one texting, one-to-one mailers, or move calls into a call center or BDC. But those micro audiences are 10 times more valuable than inflating a list.
They are.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know we're wrapping up here soon and we want to be respectful of your time. Do you have any more thoughts on CDP, or would you prefer I move on to just a quick AI question?
Let's move on to AI.
Okay. Well, it's a hot topic right now, and we just want to know your thoughts on AI in general.
I think that, people are enamored by, going to ChatGPT or Gemini and I do it as well. I'm not in it all the time. I'm a little old school that I got so much other tactical things to do. But
Sure.
I am fascinated by the speed at which content can be generated or answers can be solved, or even code written. It's amazing. Obviously, for automotive, we have so many specialties. I think what's going to happen is people are going to start to develop AI agents or vertical agents, meaning with a specific task. This agent is good at booking service appointments. This agent is good at answering questions on trade. This agent is good at answering finance questions. This agent is really good at texting. And I think what's going to happen is these agents will be very productive over time. I mean, I don't know if you've heard this, but it's the craziest thing because I am 63, so I've worked in an office. But the HR departments now are getting calls and says, "Oh, I see you're looking for, a JavaScript programmer, and I see you're advertising 100,000. Hey, for $5,000 a month, I can give you an AI agent that is 5 times more productive." And companies are actually buying vertical AI agents or employees for tasks. So, if I have one more workshop on dealers don't answer phone calls, right, you can kill yourself. Or if you really want to turn around and be positive, I think AI will finally be able to fill a lot of the gaps that have been present because of human resource limitations, human focus. So in the future, I think we'll see more digital voice assistants answering the phone. You have Brooke and Stella and Numa, outbound calling, and there's some other tools coming up. Outbound calling for declined service or to book service. So I think that, AI agents are probably going to find a nice home. Companies like Impel with sales AI and service AI, that's one of the reasons why their booth Charity was so busy. Dealers are
AI.
really fascinated with what they can do. They were inquisitive. So, that's where I think our initial breakthroughs will be. I
totally agree. I have listened to a lot of people, and what ChatGPT is just 3 years, 37, 38 months old. I mean, it's still considered a novelty, not a go-to for precise stuff, but it's like, dealers were signing up left and right early in 2024 to mid 20, and then they were canceling about as fast because it didn't communicate with anything else, and it became another ADD, which is another damn dashboard that they had to manage, and they're out on all that. Plus, it didn't do really what it wasn't even AI. It was just some automated programming. It wasn't even true anyway. So I believe, there's certainly a need there. We still have basic stuff like I have a Genesis and I went in to have my car serviced. And the first thing the service advisor did is say, "Do you have an appointment? How about hello? Welcome or welcome back. And my name is, and how about something like, do you have an appointment?" All right. So that basic stuff right there still is happening, right? It's incredible. And I know we're out of time, but.
Yeah, we are. So Brian, is there anything you wish we'd asked you that we didn't?
Well, I want to encourage dealers who are fascinated with some of the topics we're talking about today to consider. We have a conference coming up in Scottsdale. It's the weekend after Easter in the end of April. That's the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference. And if you're fascinated with what are some of the breakthroughs in marketing, communication, CDPs, we're going to be covering all of that. And the sub theme is put up or shut up. I think, Russell, you'd like that. Put up or shut up. What does that mean? Don't come on stage. Don't run a workshop claiming your product works without a dealer in tow that's using the product and the dealer can speak about it.
Amen.
Charity, you mentioned it's tough to get dealers' attention, and how do we get a breakthrough? Well, guess what? When you're in a room and another dealer's talking and that dealer can ask that dealer questions, they can kind of flush that person out. Hey, is this a trustworthy person? So dealers who are really looking for those next breakthroughs and to talk to dealers who are using the products, not just salespeople, they can go to digitalmarketingstrategies.org and book their tickets. It's at the beautiful Kierland, Westin Kierland in Scottsdale. Russell, the used car week is typically down there.
Mm-hmm.
The Kierland Resort. It's a beautiful time of the year.
It is.
And so I would encourage, Charity, that your listeners who are inquisitive about solving some of their current pain points coming out to the conference.
Thank you, Brian. And how do people get a hold of you and find you?
Yeah, so I have the easiest email address, brian@brianpasch.com. And of course, they can just look me up on LinkedIn, and they can subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter, which goes out to about 15,000 automotive professionals. And I write at least an article every week, and it's a good way for them to just have something in their inbox that will challenge them to think about new things.
Brian, Charity, and I thank you so much. Once again, we're honored and humbled that, and we'd like to ask you, we'd like to reserve it all possibility for you to come back in the future and elaborate a little more on some of this stuff and the changes. Would you be open to that?
Sure. We'd love to come back.
Okay, everybody, you're going to see Brian everywhere before long. And I got to tell you, this is a wrap for another extremely successful WTF, and that's What the Fixed Ops. Like him, love him, share him, make comments, connect with him. He's a mover and shaker and got a lot of insights. Him and the group, the Pasch group, they do a lot of amazing stuff out there. And if you want to keep your ears on what's going on right now and what's coming in the future, then connect. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Russell.